welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be walking you through how I made that stippled floral design on the sketchbook that I taught you how to make yesterday. So starting off, I just used the cardboard padding, I guess is what you'd call it, that came on the bottom of my pack of watercolor paper. It was the exact same size as the watercolor paper, so it worked perfectly when cut in half. So I cut that in half, and then I grabbed my black Crayola Super Tip marker. For this project, you can use any sort of black marker, whether it be a Sharpie, a ballpoint pen even. I just used this because it was nice and thick, which worked well with the cardboard. It kind of soaked in nicely. However, it's not waterproof, so make sure you don't like smear your book cover or whatever when you're using it, if you're using a Crayola Super Tip. So you do want something that has somewhat of a fine point because we'll be doing a lot of stippling, and if you don't know what that is, I will be explaining in today's video. Real quick, before the video gets too far going, I want to start off by saying if you like today's video, make sure you leave a like and a comment down below. And make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss a future video. Okay, so starting off, I like to draw the center of the flower. And I do a very kind of, I guess I'd call it a shaky motion, just to get like a wavy kind of textured border around the center of the flower. And then after doing that, I draw very smooth kind of abstract shapes. So I first decided that I want my flowers to be three-petaled in the center, so I drew three abstract shapes connecting together. And I always stray away from just doing circles. I always like have either a dip in my petal or kind of the opposite of that, just to give it like shape and dimension. And then after doing the center, I do the same thing around the outside to build up layers, each layer getting smaller and thinner than the one before. It kind of depends how many layers you want. I did between 2 and 4 layers underneath the first 3 petals. But it just depends on how big you want your flower and how much dimension you want to it. Yeah, so I always kind of, also the layers underneath the 3 petals, I get bigger and wider with them. And I always like to kind of position them so they cover the seam of the 2 petals in the layer above it. Yeah, so that's how I shape my flowers. Let's get into the stippling process. So for those of you who don't know what I mean by stippling, stippling is when you use tiny little dots in an area of a drawing, and usually you use stippling for shading purposes. So I've been really into using stippling. I think it's a really cool, unique look, and I think it looks really pretty with these floral patterns that I've been drawing. So when I start stippling, I start at the base of the flower, that circle we started with, and I go all the way around that circle with a pretty heavy concentration of those little tiny dots. And then as I work out from that, I get thinner with those dots and I spread them out even more. When I do a flower, I like to kind of imagine where a dip would be in the petal and concentrate some stippling there. And then when you work down the layers of the flower that you have underneath that base petal, those base petals, make sure to always add shadow where there's something above it. And that's pretty much how you can achieve the stipple process with this. I also always go back later and add some stippling into that center of the flower, just a little bit. You don't want to like completely cover it. But yeah, and then I kind of made a different variation of the flower, smaller with 4 petals and without layers. And those looked good, and then the negative space in between those flowers I just colored in black. Overall, I'm really happy with this. After doing the first half of your cover, just do the back cover, and then you'll be done. Or you can just do this design for fun on any sort of paper. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Bye.